Hey everybody, how's it going? Mike Leo here. Beautiful rainy day in Elk Grove, California, otherwise known as northern Mexico. So hey everybody, I wanted to talk to you today about how it is not cool to fall into the victim game. And it's not cool for multiple reasons. Basically because how it's going to affect you and the people around you. You see, a lot of people, tragedy and adversity and all kinds of things happen to everybody. And you don't get strength from being a victim. In today's world, there's a lot of people who want to tell you that because there's a lot of money involved in telling people they're victims. There's a lot of political power in telling people that they're victims. But the truth of the matter is, it is not very empowering to yourself to believe that you're a victim. And what I mean by that is, when something happens to you, it doesn't mean that you're a victim. If somebody harms you, instead of looking at yourself as a victim, you should look at the fact that they are just an evil or bad person who committed a crime. It's not that you're a victim. And you have to not think like a victim, And the problem with thinking that is that it allows you to actually absorb that way of thinking. You actually think that way, and it starts transferring to every aspect of your life, and it's not functional at all. And we know that you have to be functional in all aspects of your life in order for you to prosper. So when something happens to you, instead of allowing that thing that happened, whether it be a physical thing, emotional thing, a mental thing, whether it be somebody had done something to you, or whether it be circumstances, anything that happens to you, you cannot look at it as this is who you are and happened to you because of who you are, which you are a victim. I'm the perfect example of that. It would have been easy for me when I lost my arm when I was 19, 20 years old. It was for me to just fall into this victim game where it's just I feel sorry about myself and everything's about me and everything's about what happened to me and not about my future, not about reality. Because the reality of the world is that you are what you perceived yourself to be, and the rest of the world sees you how you see yourself. So if you see yourself as a victim, you are going to be a victim to the rest of the world. And part of that problem goes down to what I call the comfort zone, which goes with the victim game. You see, when something happens to you, particularly, emotional. Let's say your boyfriend or girlfriend or your husband or wife breaks up with you. You have something terrible happen in your life. It's normal for us to seek comfort, right? That's normal. But how far does that comfort go? In other words, do you seek the comfort because the comfort makes you feel happier than it is in your regular life? And we see this all the time where, I would have friends whose girlfriends constantly are cheating on them, or their boyfriends are abusive to them, etc. And there's a pattern of this victim thing, because you get victimized and then you get comfort. You get victimized, you get comfort. You get victimized, you get comfort. And that's not good. That's not functional at all. It also doesn't allow you to adapt. Because instead of you learning from your past mistakes, learning from circumstances that happen to you, you're just becoming a victim. You're just allowing that thing to basically dictate who you are. When I used to teach a lot of rape prevention courses. And one of the main things that besides the physical aspect of what I taught women when it comes to rape prevention and what I call women's survival, is the mindset. Because you see, if something terrible happens to you, like somebody rapes you, which is a terrible, awful, disgusting thing, you cannot allow that thing that happened to you, define who you are for the rest of your life. Because then you are allowing that person to make you a victim. Not just that they did that one thing to you that victimized you for that one particular thing, but that is going to stay with you for the rest of your life. And I've seen this many of times with women who suffered terrible things with abuse, with rape, and so forth. And I'm always telling them, look, it's a terrible, awful, disgusting thing that happened to you. But don't let that define who you are. Don't let that person who did that terrible thing to you change who you are and have you become a victim. When something happens to you that's not pleasant, which is going to happen to everybody, how you respond to that, rather react, And going back, this is another Adapt for Life philosophy, where it is always better to respond than to react. Because when you react to something, you're allowing that particular thing, whether it be a person or an action or whatever it is, to determine your behavior. Where a response is you determining your behavior. In a fighting situation or self-defense situation, that's very simple to see. If someone throws a punch at you and you let it hit you, that's allowing that's reacting to the punch, but in a negative way. Where they throw a punch at you and you parry it, you spike it, you move out of the way, you answer it with another punch, etc. That's you responding to the punch. Instead of you blinking your eyes, going like this and all, that's reacting. And that's how you're not going to be successful in life. So when something happens to you that's not pleasant, that harms you, that affects you mentally, physically, emotionally, learn from that and apply it to yourself to become a stronger, better person. I'm not saying it's easy, but in reality of life, what do you know that's easy, that's worth having? I mean, there's a reason why we want, a Corvette. There's a reason why we want a big house. There's a reason why we want all these things, because they're not easy to obtain. It's not easy to obtain, becoming a surgeon or, becoming a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt or whatever it is that you want. How can you obtain? Those things are important because they mean something. They're hard to obtain. So it's a lot of times, in most of the cases, doing the easy thing is not the right thing. It's not functional. Bruce Lee used to always talk about, doing the most direct path, doing what's useful, taking the simplest way, and stuff like that. All that pertains to you being functional, though. When you take the simplest way, it has to be the simplest functional way. It can't just be, I'm going to do this because it's the easiest thing. Well, it might be easy, but is it the best thing? Is it the most functional thing for you to do? So when it comes to combat, 90-something% of the time, the simplest way is the most functional way. And guess what? That also applies in your real life too. Usually when you deal with adversity, the simplest thing you can do, which is to believe in yourself and to not allow something to affect you for the rest of your life, is the best way to deal with it. So you just remember that being a victim is not a strong thing. You always hear people say, you got to, almost as if by proclaiming yourself a victim, you're going to release this and you're going to all of a sudden become strong. No. What you have to understand is you need to proclaim that you're not a victim and that the circumstances that happen to you or whatever situation you're in is not who you are. And you as a person do not allow other people to determine who you are. You determine who you are, and you alone. And the best way to determine that is to be functional. Have a good day. Thanks for listening.